أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to Understanding Islam with myself, Zakira, Shyrose, Dhalla, right here on Hidayat TV, where we discuss Islamic concepts so that we can understand our beautiful religion better and understand the philosophical reasons, at least try to understand, behind many of the commands that Islam has for us in the Holy Quran. And we'll look at hadith of Ahlul Bayt and often we look at stories and try to understand these concepts of Islam even deeper. So inshallah, today's topic is something that is relevant to all of us as we live in this world, and it is about living together in this world in unity. And we want to understand, what does Islam say about living together in without differences, by sort of reconciling our differences, but also overlooking each other's differences and thinking the best of each other, which helps us to live in unity. So this concept in Islam is called husn dhan. So today we're going to talk about this. What does this husn mean? And its opposite, su'u dhan. And let's get right into it and try to understand a little bit so that we can make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleased with us. And that's what our goal is always, as we try to understand our religion better. So husn dhan, what does this mean? It's an Arabic word. Dhan means to think or to believe or to suppose, even suspect. Dhan is to just think about something, to analyze it, to think about it, to wonder about it. So dhan is the concept of thinking. And husn means good. This is, that's why we have names like Hassan and Husna, the beautiful one, the one who is beautiful, right? Husn, even in Urdu, we have the same word. When we look at something very beautiful, we say this is Hasin. So the word husn and the word dhan, when we put it together, absolutely means to think the best, to think positively, to think the best of a human being, about a fellow mu'min. And so husn dhan means to think positively and well of others. And there is su'u dhan, which is the opposite, right? It means to be suspicious of others and to always think negatively of them. And we know those people. Hopefully, inshallah, we're not those people who are always looking at the glass half empty, but also always thinking negatively about others, especially when somebody is nice to us. We say, there must be some reason why this person is being so nice to me. Definitely, he is plotting something. It's too good to be true. How can someone be so nice all the time? It must be fake. This person, they're doing all these good things because they want others to love them. They're not really loving and kind people. They just want to show this image. They want to show the world that they are wonderful, but they're not inside. So what does Islam teach us when we look at people? How can we live in this society and still preserve ourselves? I recently put up a status about, someone had sent it to me, so I really liked it, that, be like the rain. But when it rains, it doesn't look at who to rain on. It's not selective. It's just rain. It just falls on others. Be like this rain. I really loved this thing, but someone immediately wrote back to me and said, but then people will take advantage of us. We can't be nice to everyone. We can't think the positive things about people all the time. It's sad. If we're going to get like this, we're going to get very bitter in this world. Definitely, yes, there needs to be a little bit of self-preservation, but Islam doesn't tell us this, that we should selectively be nice to people. Islam says, always do husn dhan. Always give people the benefit of the doubt. So if a fellow Muslim says or does something, and it can be interpreted positively or negatively, And this often happens when we're in gatherings. Somebody says, this person did this. Most of us will say, yeah, look at, this person's always like this. Oh yeah, we've seen what they've done in the past, and definitely, this is their nature, and it doesn't make sense if they've done something good. Why would a bad person be suddenly good? Nah, doesn't, don't trust this person. We immediately, all of us, get into this concept of groupthink. And in psychology, and see, mashallah, Islam is a very beautiful religion because it is based on the psychology of a human being. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our fitrah, knows what we are prone to do. He definitely made us beautiful and positive and spiritual and lovely. But he knows what can happen when shaitan does his terrible things on us. When he gives us what we know is called waswasa. In Urdu we say waswasa, in Arabic also. When we ask in the charcoal that we really have been told to recite this for self-preservation. What is this preservation? That we say, Ya Allah, I ask you for help with the waswasa that shaitan puts in my ear and in my heart and in my mind. That is pretty incredible. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that human beings are prone to waswasa. They're prone to suspicion. Excuse me. They are prone to thinking the worst of somebody because of what shaitan does. And remember, shaitan befriends our most innocent form of self, the nafs al-ammara. It's a baby. It can be very much tempted. It can very much be misled. It can be misguided. It can make us suspicious of people, and it can cause havoc relationships within ourselves because we are always thinking the worst of people around us. So we ask in this surah, and we say, "Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas min al-jinnati wan nas." We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswas al-khannas." I'm asking for refuge from this evil of suspicion. And then we're asking for refuge from that shows us that the only way we can preserve ourselves is to not be suspicious. Suspicious people become lonely people. They become negative people. And also they become anxious people. Those people are always worried that someone has done some witchcraft on them. Or those people are always worried about nazar. They're worried about the evil eye. No doubt that evil eye exists. No doubt that witchcraft exists. No doubt that jinns exist. But if we're always going to be thinking about them, always going to be thinking that we're in danger, that someone has put nazar on us, now everything's going wrong in our life, or that someone is jealous of us. You've seen what happens to those people who are always worried about nazar. They end up not going out because they say people will see how beautiful I am, they'll put nazar on me. So they become isolated. They don't invite people to their houses anymore because they say, oh, whenever somebody comes over to my house, things break. It's all sorts of bala happen on me. Whenever this person is in my life, bad things happen. I know this person's preying on me. This can create madnesses in us. This can cause, literally, for us to lose our mind. Psychology tells us that we need to do this breathing and to think positively, meditate, go to a nice place, really self-talk ourselves out of this tendency to think the worst of people, because we know that it is a very slippery slope. It's a dangerous slope. Islam helps us balance. It gives us the awareness that yes, evil is within us often because shaitan is after us and evil is around us. However, we can absolutely repel it by thinking the best of people. Even in the Holy Quran, we're told, repel evil with goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us it is definitely logical This is on the Holy Quran, that it is logical that evil would be reacted with evil. However, if you repel something with goodness, it is best for you, better for you, and could be that this person who is your enemy can become your friend. So Islam is always preaching goodness and kindness and to think the best of people. It's the only way we can move forward. That is why Islam always has this thing about forgiving others and also asking for forgiveness. This whole thing about praying salah in a jama'ah, that there is more thawab if you come out of your house and pray with others. There is so much thawab and also so many hadith about those people who love the mosque. Well, how many of us love the mosque but we don't like going to the mosque? Why? Because we're going to see all these people that upset us, that have done this to us. We don't want to be with these people. Also, we think everyone's after us, everyone hates us. Therefore, we become completely isolated, lost, scared, and suspicious. Everyone looks at us, we're saying, look at this person's glaring at me. This person is looking at me very strangely. Maybe they've noticed I've lost weight. Maybe they're looking at how my purse is not a designer purse. Do you see what happens? When we don't do husn al-dhan, we start to respect people. We're doing what is called su'al. We are thinking the worst of someone. We're thinking the evil. Our thoughts are, there's a concept of looking at everything with rose-tinted glasses, right? Which is that, when you put on, what happens when you put on sunglasses? There are sunglasses that have a pink frame. When you put them on, everything looks pink. Yes? When you put on your sunglasses, everything suddenly looks not so sunny. So we notice that when we put some kind of lens, it can change our entire perception of the world. Those people in English, the concept of wearing the rose-tinted glasses means they're seeing everything rosy. Everything's great. They're saying, look at this wonderful thing. They're seeing everything rosy and beautiful and pretty. This is what Islam wants us to do because it's good for us as well as for our relationships with others. When we think the positive things about others, when we expect something good from others, you know what we say? It makes us vulnerable. This makes us open to a punch. When you're like, no, this person's not going to hurt me. So what happens is we make ourselves vulnerable. Next thing you know, you're not expecting a punch and then you get punched. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to always give ourselves to others. He loves us to be vulnerable because in our vulnerability, we have shown a certain type of tawakkul. We have said, Allah, I'm going to be good to this person because you like it. Now, the way they behave, you can affect them. You can make them love me. You can make them think that I'm not a bad person after all. Maybe you can remove this evil feeling they have against me. And it starts with saying salam, doesn't it? Have you ever experienced this where there's been something, some kind of awkwardness with someone, and then next thing you know, you don't say salam to them, or you don't make eye contact? What happens after that? You see them either at the mosque or at the workplace or at school, wherever we are in life. What happens? We change our path because we don't want to go eye to eye. We don't want to meet this person anymore. And from that awkwardness, after that, it becomes a blown war. But Islam, what does Islam say? The person who says salam gets more thawab. Therefore, you should seek out somebody. Saying wa alaikum salam, Allah took care of that. He said, now it's going to be wajib on them. They have to say it. You make the first move. Allah takes care of this. That you're like, what if they don't meet me halfway? They have done a sin. They have done a sin. Don't let their reaction make you afraid to reach out a positive hand. And often this means now really going to that person who turned away from us, who saw us coming and went somewhere far, because they don't want to have this awkward feeling. Seek them out. Go to them, put your hand there, say Assalamu alaikum, I haven't seen you in so long. Hug them. Islam has these rules and these recommendations. After salah, turning to the person beside us, touching their hand, hugging them, really feeling their body warmth. These days we have this personal space business. Don't come near me. And after the COVID, we really became afraid of people's germs, yes? And it's so dangerous because now you're awkward. You don't know if you should hug anyone anymore. Those of us who are the huggy type of people, it's really hard for us to hold back because, and you notice what happens when you don't hug people. It's a very cold conversation. And as soon as you hug somebody, the warmth that you share, because body touch, and psychology tells us, science is telling us this, that the endorphins that are released when people touch, and that the longer a hug is, the more it creates a gentleness and a positive energy. Try it, because when you hug somebody, and sometimes people only hug you with their shoulder. They don't even hug you deeply, yes? They just want to hug you a side shoulder. They just want to give you a touch. There are people who kiss you, but their kisses are just hovering on your cheek. They don't really actually kiss you. There isn't a fear of getting close to people. Islam is telling us, work against this basic negative instinct. When you hug somebody, science tells us that the longer the hug is, the more powerful it becomes. And we've tried this, that you don't do this side hug, you do a proper hug, and then what happens? Just hold that person. Tried it? Especially when sometimes we're condoling somebody. We don't have words to say we're so sorry about what has happened. But when we hug this person and we just hold them deeply and we say, please just understand how I feel. I wish my body could tell you how sad I am for you. That is often channeled to that person. Ever felt some lovely hug like this when you're just hugged by somebody and you feel like, I feel cared for, I feel loved, I feel this positive energy. And what does the hadith tell us about this? If science tells us endorphins are released, and that person that are hugging eventually relaxes. Because they were really holding back. Now they find you're not letting go. You're not letting go. You're sort of caressing them a little. You're hugging them. And you're saying, I love you. I miss you. Where have you been? It's so wonderful to see you. And you're kind of rocking them a little. What happens at this point? That person relaxes. And you might have met them like, hi. But when you parted, their smiles are like out of this world. That hi became love you. It changed. Because the human touch has this incredible power to move hearts, to change relationships. This is why psychology tells us, science tells us that even in marital relationships, it is so important to keep the physical touch. Intimacy is not only a marital relationship, intimacy is also holding hands, looking into the eyes of someone. The eyes are the mirror to the soul. And we are told that, and you've seen these science experiments, haven't you? Scientific people do these social experiments where they are told, okay, you're just going to look into your spouse's eyes or your friend's eyes. And when you look and you're told, look for a minute, look for 2 minutes, just, you can't move. Just sit and look at each other. They have found most of the time people start crying. People start crying just looking at each other, because looking into the eyes opens the soul of that person, makes us vulnerable, makes us try to, no talking, just looking into each other's eyes can do wonders. Now, I'm not saying men and women should look into each other's eyes. We're talking about halal relationships with our relatives, with our loved ones, with our spouses, with our own children, with our own parents. We avoid looking into each other's eyes. We avoid each other and the warmth goes away. Look back at any of the relationships in your life that have fallen apart. Definitely started with avoidance, and it gets cold and cold and cold, and then there's no touch, there's no looking in the eyes. There's a total avoidance of even acknowledging the presence of this person. Even when they come to the front door, there's no salam when they come. Or if there's a salam, it's from another room. Islam, what does it do? It encourages us to meet our loved ones at the door. Spouses, wives are told that when your husband comes from a busy, a difficult day, that woman, and this is what Imam Ali alayhi salam told someone who was saying that my wife meets me at my door, and when I come home, I know all my difficulties go away. It's such an amazing feeling. And Imam Ali alayhi salam said, your wife is doing jihad, because she also has had a difficult day. But that woman who meets her husband at the door with a smile on her face has actually done a jihad and herself, put her own feelings aside and put you above it. For your sake, she has smiled, and for the sake of the relationship, basically. And you are a lucky man, and this woman definitely is a heavenly woman. She will go to heaven. Because for a woman to give a smile to her husband is a biggest. God knows that spouses, it's very difficult to be kind to each other. There are times where so much bitterness and negativity that we forget to even smile. What does Islam tell us about the human touch? Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, we know, was once with a companion, and when they were on this journey, every time they would stop and they would sit and eat, for example, stop for eating, stop for a break, whenever they would get off their horses, Imam would hug that companion and say salam to him. And so the man said to Imam, we're on this journey together, Imam, but whenever we stop, you meet me like you just met me. You meet me with like so much love, and you hug me as if you've missed me, you in my horse, right? Imam said, do you not know that there is a lot of thawab every time we greet somebody? Make the most of these. So these are, free thawab, really. So easy if we allow ourselves to say salam to everybody, to hug people, to spread the cheer. And Imam said, then he hugged this friend of his companion. Imam said, do you know? He said, Imam, you don't let me go. You're hugging me. Our hands are together. Explain this to me. Imam said, do you know? The longer that we hold each other, the longer our sins are on each other, like leaves fall off a tree. Imam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves when two people come together. And when they hug each other, he said, the longer our hands are holding each other, the longer the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are falling upon us. We've been merciful to each other, Allah is then merciful to us. Therefore, I'm holding you for as long as I can. This is, we often feel awkward when you hug somebody and your hand's kind of stuck in their hand, and now you're like, how do I get this hand out? Because or you hug somebody, or you're got your arm around them, and now you're like, how do I hug them now? My hand is around them. How do I extricate myself? Actually, I love these moments because they come very few times in life. Look at all the people who have passed away. Look at all the people who moved away, or all the people in our lives who are once best friends, and God forbid something happened and now they've moved away emotionally from. We miss those good times when their touch, when their hug used to make everything okay. What we often lack in our lives is the human touch with our own parents. And we become awkward about hugging them or holding them for a bit long, kissing them, sleeping on their lap. And we are really losing the most precious thing Allah has given us, this unconditional touch that you get from a parent. Because parents, they love us unconditionally, yes? They love us even, when we're foul, terrible people possible. There's that saying, a face that only a mother could love. The person that nobody loves is unattractive to the eye. Allah doesn't make anybody ugly, but human beings, we hate. But this face only his mother will love. Because a mother will love us. We are a part of her. But we are avoiding this human touch. And also, we are avoiding husn al-dhan. Husn al-dhan is not just about fellow community members. Husn al-dhan is also thinking the best about our own family members, about our spouses. And also, this goes on to thinking the best of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think of everything with a positive outlook. A lot of people, especially when I write about my mother on on social media will write back about toxic mothers. This thing has happened right now in psychology and in these circles where people want to now analyze their own parents, and they want to hold them to task, and they want to assess them like we would assess any other human being. Oh, they weren't this, they didn't do this, they weren't equal to us, they said mean words to us, they hit us, they did this, they did that, they were jealous of us. You cannot assess your parents like you assess any other person. It's like actually comparing apples to oranges. Because when a parent scolds you, it is for your good. And often we think, well, it's because they need something. My parents won't let me move away. They won't let me have my own income and keep it to myself. My parent doesn't want me to get married. My parent wants me to only be theirs. That you find nowhere in Islamic literature, that you should look at why your parent is doing a particular thing and love them accordingly. There is no condition in this. Islam says, love your parents no matter what, and obey them no matter what. Unless they're making you do a sinful haram thing. That's different. They're asking you not to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the 12 Masumin, to do your salah. But the status of a parent is so high that if we're doing and the Maraja are together on this one, if we're doing a mustahab salah, we can break it if our parent is calling us. That is the power that a parent has over us. But if you're doing something that is a mustahab act, we're getting sawab for doing it. But your parent says, I don't want you to go today. I want you to stay. Even whether it's housework or whatever it is, drop everything and be with your parent. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this hukm, this that you must think husna dhan of your parents. Because their role in our lives is totally different. We cannot think of them as toxic parents and mean parents and evil parents. In fact, if they have been like this, then we have to forgive them. That is the role. So, husna dhan, a lot of times, really brings us together. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Hujurat is full of this unity about staying together, not calling people names, not laughing at them, not talking about them, not suspecting them. Beautiful surah, all about unity. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in one of the ayah that, oh, you who have faith, or you who believe, you are a believer, you are a mu'min, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Avoid suspicion. Avoid this adhan, su'adhan. Indeed, some suspicions, adhan, are sins. Allahu Akbar. How can some suspicions be a sin? This question is very easy to answer. Often we have judged somebody wrongly. Right now there's this phrase everyone says, don't judge me. Please don't judge me. Because it has become a thing that we realize people judge each other, especially on social media. We see somebody who's written something, we judge them. We see someone who's just put a sentence about something and we say, oh, maybe this is happening in their lives. Just because someone is writing something doesn't mean this is actually happening to them, but we judge. We go to somebody's house, it's a mess, we judge when it's just one of those 30 days where everything was a mess. But usually they are clean. Usually that person is very well put together. You saw them on a day when their hair was all over the place, and they will say, please don't judge me. So human beings have a tendency to judge. Who are we to judge? We are the last ones who should judge. We are full of sins. We are full of imperfections. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to judge, and even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges beautifully. He judges in our favor. He is not in the business of putting his loved creatures that he lovingly made and that he fought with shaitan about, that these are my ambassadors on earth. These are the ones who will love me even when they had an opportunity not to love me. They will give their lives for me. Allah has husna about us. Why would he put us in the hellfire? Just because we have slipped a little bit. Even when we slipped knowingly, we enjoyed that sin. Of Of course you're going to enjoy a sin. That's why you did it. So Allah knows that you enjoyed that sin, but now regret is real. Just a little teardrop, a tiny little teardrop, and I've accepted your astaghfar. We even worry about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepting our astaghfar. We say, no, Allah's not going to believe me that I'm really sorry. You know, Allah's going to think I'm going to do this. We think the worst of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Allah says, surely, indeed, some suspicions are sins. Often our eyes have opened up when we have said, this person, you know, they didn't even, it reminds me of the story of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when someone brought their new harvest. They were grapes. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tasted that because the man said, please try my first harvest. You know, these grapes have just come and they look beautiful. They looked really pretty, you know, rosy and beautiful. And he ate, and then he ate them all. And when the man left, the companion said, Ya Rasulullah, what's this? You've never ever not shared anything with us. But these grapes perhaps very tasty, and there was just a few and you ate them all. You didn't even give us any. And you didn't, you know, think of us. We're hungry too. Now, what happens when someone eats everything? I think, you know, that's really mean. That's, you know, didn't even share. The husn dhan that should have been done on the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he replied, because you don't realize that these grapes were not ripe yet. In fact, they were so bitter that if you had tasted them, you would have spit them out. You would have hurt this poor man. Therefore, I ate them because you don't have the tolerance that I do. You would not have been able to control your disgust on your face. How beautiful it is to treat others with love. This unity is so important. To love each other and to think the best. Even though often we do something good for someone, we say, you know, they're not going to even thank me. They're not going to even realize that, you know, I've done so much for them. Don't think that someone is not thanking you. A case in point, this morning, it happened to me that I was rushing around and I had no time to eat. And I was so busy. And there was something that I had to give to someone that I, you know, was like they were supposed to come over, and I forgot. I was upstairs. When I came down, that particular food that I was going to give somebody, my sister had already taken it out of the fridge and given it to someone, that person who had come. As well, my sister had kept a coffee for me and something to eat. And believe me, as I heated it up and I was quickly eating it, I had tears in my eyes and I was praying for her and I was saying, thank you, Allah, for a sister who loves me so much that she comes into my home and prepares a meal for me, knowing that perhaps I won't have a moment. But I wonder if I'll have the time to say thank you to her. I wonder if I'll have the same emotion when I say thank you. Will I have those tears in my eyes? Because that moment was beautiful. After the fact, we say thanks for what you did. We don't go that flowery way to really thank somebody deeply and say, you know how hungry I was, you know how important it was to me. All that stuff is lost. And what happens? That person who did for us thinks, look at them. They don't even thank me. They didn't even notice when I've done so much for them. But husn dhan has to happen even when you've done a good deed for someone. And you have to say, definitely, this must have helped them. Definitely, I have made their lives easy. Whether they say thank you or not is separate from all this. And I did fi sabilillah. Allah definitely, because we have husn dhan about God, Allah will give me for that. This person doesn't say thank you, that's okay. Allah will give me 1,000,000-fold. This is when a husn can make our relationships beautiful, because we don't hold this with each other. Now, how this ayah where Allah says, surely some suspicion, some of them are sins. How can it be a sin? Do you know that there are some people who have a condition which makes it hard for them to understand facial expressions? Did you know this? There are people who have trouble figuring out if someone's smiling or glaring at them. Did you know this? Well, I'm a psychology major, so I studied this. And there are, you know, autism, for example, is a condition that is on a spectrum. You can have a touch of it, or you can have it full blown. This is why there are some people who have Asperger's. This is a syndrome that allows people to be very, what's the word? They're very able to be in the world. They're very able to do things, right? But they still have autism. But what's missing in them is social relationships. They're not able to ascertain how somebody is thinking and feeling and to assess them in the correct way. Such people are very innocent people because they can confuse somebody's act of kindness and think that this person is really very kind, and they can be gullible, they can be taken, they can be robbed because they think good people are good. But often when someone's smiling at them, they can confuse it as a glare. In science, in psychology, they have studied people and seen that most people, even if they don't share the same language, they can immediately understand a smile, they can understand anger, they can understand confusion, they can understand fear. These faces are universal. They've done studies where they've got people of different colors, people who are Korean, Vietnamese, Chinese, African American, they are East Indian, South Asian, etc., etc. Every kind of person available, right? And every kind of culture and face. And when they did these studies and they asked people, what is this picture? This person's smiling. They say they're smiling. They don't know the language. They don't know that person, but they can say that's a smile. That person's scared. That person is very confused. So they would tell these people, make a confused face. Confused. Now everyone has to look at what that confused, and they say this is confused. Everyone. But people with autism who have a touch of autism could not figure out if this is confusion or if it means I'm going to kill you. There was a total different interpretation of a face. Such people also take a sentence or a tone of voice in a different way. When you use a high pitch, they think you're shouting at them. They'll often say, this person shouted at me. Say they didn't shout. But for them, a high pitch of voice feels like very loud to them. These people also, when the lights are very bright, feel very overwhelmed and anxious. They feel that everyone's yelling at them. They feel a harsh environment. Well, this makes sense, right? I mean, you see sometimes restaurants very, very dim lighting because it creates a very gentle ambiance, right? Well, there are some of us who can take high lights, and there are others who get very anxious at highlights. Bright lights make them feel that someone is out to get them. So if you know you are this person who confuses your people around you, when they say to you, I didn't do that, I didn't say that, I didn't think this, I swear I didn't do this. If we find that this is happening a lot around us, that we are confusing ourselves, we are misinterpreting people around us, that for years we didn't talk to somebody because we had this grudge. We were thinking, this person, they said this to me. You turned their face away. And later on, this person will come and say, sometimes it happens. They actually come and say, I didn't say hello to you that day. Do you know why? I had to rush because I had to pick up my daughter at school. I'm so sorry. I didn't say hello to you the other day. This might happen a few months later and you're thinking, oh my God, I thought this person was avoiding me because of something that had happened. And even if, let's just say this person did it, literally ran away from us, but now they want to smooth things over. Islam tells us husn al-dhan means you take them at face value. It's a very, very beautiful concept. Husn al-dhan means that you think that this fellow mu'min has come with no weapons, right? We saw this in you see these in old Western movies. For example, the cowboys would come with their guns. They had their hand on their gun. Everyone would get their hands on the gun too. But if the man came with his hands up and said, look, I come in peace, I'm not holding my weapon, I put my sword on the ground. What does this mean? This means I come in peace. Do you know that the handshake, it started from this? Because if someone's shaking hands with you, their hand is not on their sword. They are not doing weapons right now. They're with you. They're holding hands with you. They have, what's a handshake? Handshake means, pleased to meet you. I'm with you. I like you. I'm on your side. Islam loves this, that human beings give each other this impression that, forgiven, that's forgiven. Nowadays we become a little bit bitter, yes. We say, when someone comes to apologize to us, we say, yeah, you upset me. Do you know how much I cried? Do you know what trouble you gave me? And then we give them this big lecture. You know what happens when you've tried to say sorry to someone and they still want to live 20 years ago because they want to get it off their chest. They want to tell you, you did this to me. I have to tell you how upset I am. We don't want to focus on the opportunity to forgive each other, the opportunity to hug and say, let's put it behind us. It's water under the bridge. What do we want to do? We want to visit that problem that happened 20 years ago. This person has come to say sorry. We say, yeah, now you're here saying sorry. I'll tell you how much you bothered me. Tell me, how is this going to help us? We think it's going to clear the air. We're going to get it off our chests. Right now, this era, it's like the era of confrontation. Tell people how you feel. Tell them, yeah, I was upset. Yeah, I don't like what you did. Yeah, I'm upset. Try doing it. It leaves a bitter taste in your mouth if you've been a good person. Telling somebody, what you just said was really upset to me, and then being upset about it makes us look very unpleasant people. It's okay sometimes to say, yeah, I was a little bit offended there. Say it with a smile, and this will make them say, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. I feel horrible. But if we're going to be angry and bitter and take the whole speech that we had prepared for 20 years and waited till they are in our court, it's not going to get anywhere. That sorry, that opportunity to hug and let it go will be lost because we want to continue dwelling in the past. So, suspicion is very dangerous, especially if, God forbid, we have a hidden type of problem inside us that we never realized, where we think the worst of people. And if the signs around us tell us that we have spent years being angry with others, simply because we assumed certain things and we were wrong, and we know that these are sins, we need to say sorry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some people who later on we found out had brain cancer. Later we found out that they were, God forbid, abused spouses. There were people who were suffering at home, massive problems in their home. The children had chosen a lifestyle, or they were facing bankruptcy. We don't know what people are going through. When that trouble that somebody is going through, they carry it with them all day. You expect them to meet you and say, Salaam alaikum, hug you and act like fantastic, everything is great. Their sadness is on their face. They're carrying the burden of the world on their shoulders. Give people a break and do husna dhan. Later on we find, oh my God, this person was suffering. No wonder they avoided us. No wonder they never sat with us, because perhaps we would have seen the scars on their body because they were physically abused. Maybe they never showed themselves because we would have asked them who their son or daughter is. Maybe they didn't come to and always be in a good mood because they had brain cancer. Their brain was playing mind tricks with them. Doing husna dhan gives us the ability to give some benefit of doubt. What is this doubt? Doubt that maybe they weren't really as cruel and mean and awful as they are. Forgive them. Husna dhan with elderly people. How can we do? Elderly people, they are getting senile, they're getting forgetful, they're getting suspicious. Dementia has these qualities. Look at what is dementia in old people. Some people get dementia early. They get it in their 30s, 40s. The brain starts to disintegrate. It's a hidden illness. They don't go around saying, I am suffering this mental illness. I literally met a lady at the mosque once who was saying to me and was, thinking something which was absolutely not normal at all. And I looked at her and I was really scared because I knew she wasn't in her senses. She was talking about something that had that had happened, but it was no longer true anymore. It was a long time ago, and now things had changed. But she was acting like it was we were 20 years ago, right? There are people who mistake people and think somebody is their deceased son or daughter, or they think they are in another country. But she was a young lady. Was in her, I would say, young lady meaning she's in her 60s. When I talked to her, I'm telling you, that's a young lady. She's a very young lady. When I looked at her, I literally got scared because her sense of reality was totally off. She was talking about something that wasn't true at all. Like, I couldn't even tell her that, do you know, this is not 2023. I couldn't even tell her that because I was really scared it would affect her brain if I told her the reality. And I never knew that she had a mental problem until that moment where she revealed it to me. And all this time, I probably would have thought the worst of her. So it's so important to understand everyone is the walking wounded. Everyone is carrying a burden. Everyone who might have come from outside, from their home, and had a really bad fight with their spouse, or had a very tough night, and not slept that night, or they're physically ill, give people the benefit of doubt. What does Islam tell us about benefit of doubt? This is a hadith. The Aimma Tahirin alayhi salam have said this to us. Imam Ali alayhi salam has said this to us. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, do not be suspicious of others. Suspicion is a form of lying. Lying, because when you say, this person must have thought this, they must have planned this, this must have is a lie. Did you see it with your eyes? They must have thought this. They must have been planning this. Do you know that for a fact? Look at how the court cases are done in a court case, right? And the lawyer will say, did you see the person doing the act? No, but I saw them entering the house. Did you see them actually with a weapon? Did you actually see them murder this person? No, I saw them enter the house. Well, enter the house is not seeing them commit a crime. The field of law will really make you have to prove that you saw with your own eyes. And even if you saw it, where are you watching from? Are you watching from the back, from the side? Maybe if somebody's doing something, you think they're doing something, but actually they were not doing that thing. Maybe they were cleaning the counter and you think that they were mixing a poison. So the angle we saw somebody from and what we assumed they were doing when they went somewhere. There is a concept in Islam called Muslim. Very important. Muslim means that when you have seen somebody with a najasat on them, you saw that for example, a dog touched them, or something dirty fell on them. Okay, you saw them, and then you saw them maybe a few minutes later. Now they're praying salah. The husna dhan in this is that you have to assume that they have cleaned their clothes. Because they know they've been dirty, you know they've been dirty, but you have to assume the best of them. Ghaibat Muslim means when that person has been in ghaibat, you have not seen them for a while, you have to assume they have done the necessary things to make themselves pak. So even in the act of salah, you look at someone and say to them, your salah didn't count. You have no right to tell somebody. Islamic concept, Islamic law is, if you've seen somebody praying salah and they don't even know they've got something dirty on them, or they've already completed their prayer, you should not tell them. Because in their mind, they completed the prayer in a state of taharat. They did not know something had opened, their hair was showing or whatever. Let it be, let them have that feeling. You cannot undo something for someone and say, do you know your namaz didn't count? Do you know you did this wrong? Yes, you can teach somebody after the fact, but you cannot tell somebody their salah was not counted. That's Allah to decide whether their salah was counted or not. In that slave of God's heart, they were clean. They were totally covered. They prayed with a clean conscience. bring out in their heart and making them redo something is not helping them. It's creating fear in this person. There's so many people who get into this obsessive compulsive disorder, always doing weird time, always praying again and again, saying, no, my salah was not correct. No, my salah was not correct. Suspicion and difficulty even for yourself. Not having husn al-dhan about yourself also can create a massive mental problem. What is the hadith? That when you see a fellow mu'min doing something to you that has hurt you, give this person 72 benefits of doubt. 72! That's a lot! When you give them one doubt, it's enough often. You're like, no, maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they forgot. Maybe somebody has confused them. Maybe I have seen it wrongly. Maybe it's the way I saw it. I heard it wrong. Maybe they have no clue. Maybe they are trying to help me by doing this particular thing. By 6, 7, it's all become okay. When you go to 72, you are going to think as an angel, as a farishta. So, husn al-dhan is extremely important. What happens if you know something bad about someone? Now, can you do husn al-dhan about them? Is when we do Salatul Mayyit. What happens? In Salah, in front of their dead body, we are commanded to say in Salatul Mayyit, Ya Allah, I know nothing bad about this person. I know nothing evil about this person. Now we know so many bad things about this person. We're outright lying. Allah is commanding us. Do husn al-dhan about this person. Give them their dignity even after death. When everyone, when somebody dies, they become an angel, huh? Everyone says, what a good person. Oh, wonderful person. We overlook all the bad things that they did. Exactly. Don't speak ill of the dead. They've got a terrible journey ahead. Na'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. Who knows? Who knows? They have a lot of hisab kitab to do. Now, astaghfirullah, don't speak ill of them. Now it's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say to Allah, I know nothing about this person. Nothing ill about this person. Allah, and you know better. Whatever you know whether they said sorry or not. This reminds us of Imam Ali alayhi salam when people said to see this person openly committing a sin. Imam Ali would say to them, but did you know that they said sorry at night? Do you know if they did astaghfar? Were you there? That person who you see, God forbid, entering a bar, they're going to a place where people drink and dance and do terrible things inside. You see them enter, you say, astaghfirullah, look at what they're doing. Do they know what they're feeling when they were in there? Perhaps for a moment they felt, why am I here? What have I done? What am I doing here? I don't belong here. People who have changed their lives went through those moments where they were in the midst of something very, very haram. And they said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with this. But they can't leave that very moment. But the feeling of change happened in that moment. When they came out of that nightclub, out of that bar, probably intoxicated. Do we know what they were talking to Allah when they were inside there? That Allah, after this is my last one. That's it, I'm done. Now you make it so I never come back here. Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is also a ghaibate Muslim moment, where Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, when you see someone openly doing a sin, do not consider them a sinner. They have asked for forgiveness. The moment between you seeing them doing that sin and them coming out of there. Also, maybe you didn't see them come. Maybe they came out happy. They were happy. But do we know that 20 years later they're going to say astaghfar? Because inshallah they will. So many people at the end of their lives ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them. They say, I've done so many evil acts. Allah forgive me. What is Salatul Layl? 300 times saying Al-Af, 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 Al-Af. Saying it 300 times. How do we know if someone did Salatul Layl the night before and has said Astaghfirullah and cried about a sin that we saw them doing 20 years ago? Because that's what Salatul Layl is about. To look back at our old sins and to do Astaghfar on them. To say, Ya Allah, I was wrong. I don't want to be this person anymore. Forgive me, change my life, take me back to that moment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has husna dhan of his servants and wants to give them an opportunity to make it okay. Who are we to ruin their lives and to think that they are a sinner and to say the worst about them? With our internet people on YouTube sending some messages, Fatima Chalalwala was with us. Assalamu alaikum. Zinat Ladak of Mumbai with us, and Shabni. And we know that because in Toronto, this is Salah time. Often we have our viewers come and go because of it coming right Salah time. It's unfortunate that my program is right on that. But when daylight saving happens, then it's no longer it's Salah time. But this program is able to be watching the recording of it. So if you miss it at that particular time, you can absolutely watch this program later, or you can share the link with others. It stays, alhamdulillah, in the archives of Hidayat TV's live stream videos. And Zinat Ladak has said such a beautiful thing. Zakira Shyrose is a legendary speaker with a flawless aura and grace. And understanding Islam becomes easier. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her and Hidayat TV for making it possible for us to see her and to hear her. Jazakallah khair, Sister Zinat. This is your husnul dhan, that you always think the best of me and always say beautiful things to me. I really appreciate it, and it definitely motivates me. And we learn here something. Husnul dhan definitely motivates people. When this is also psychology, that you tell a child, you are a wonderful child. You are beautiful. You don't do anything wrong. You're always so good about your hijab, your salah. You never lie. Now, we know and they know that this is not true. Now, you have to do it so that it doesn't look like you're taunting them. But when you say you're a very spiritual person, you are wonderful, it makes them aspire to be that. This is that of Imam Ali alayhi salam, where he says, Ya Allah, they have said this wonderful thing about me, now make me exactly as they say I am. Many times when you praise somebody, you make them want to be exactly what we're saying they are. This is an opportunity for us to grab this opportunity to tell somebody, you are going to be wonderful. You're going to be the best person. You're very good about your salah. I'm so happy to see that you're really making an effort about how you wear your hijab. Really happy to see that you really stopped everything and went to pray. Or when there was an opportunity to do ribat, you stopped. You didn't do it. So Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, if someone says something to you, it can mean a good thing or a bad thing. Always assume the good. For example, a friend talks to you about how mean your husband is. My husband is controlling, watches what I'm doing, is always on my case, wants to see what I'm doing all the time. Yes, this can be looked at as a very controlling behavior. But a good friend can see it as an husnul and say, you know what? Wow, he loves you so much. He's always making sure you're safe. Always making sure this is love. He wants you beside him all the time. He doesn't want to let you out of his sight because he can't live without you. It's not that he wants you to feed him or keep food on the table. It's that he wants your company beside him. And irritating negative thing and making it positive. So inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this opportunity to do husna dhan, and let's practice it, especially on the people that are always upsetting us. I want to end with the saying of Isa alayhi salam, where he said once to the people, he said, "Oh, slaves of evil, you're a slave of shaitan. How come you blame others only on suspicion? You assume the worst about people, but you never blame yourselves. Why? So you're sure you did something wrong. Yeah, you don't blame yourself on, even though you're sure. This is us who say, I did this, but I had this problem. I was in a bad mood. I didn't mean it. I was busy." Like, we know that we were absolutely rude and mean and cruel, but we make our excuses for ourselves, even though we're sure, we know for a fact that we were being really mean and cruel. But when someone is mean, or cruel in our eyes, we don't give them those benefits of doubt. We immediately blame them. And Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, make excuses for your fellow mu'min. If they haven't given you an excuse, you make one up for them and accept their apology when they come and say sorry. When we do this, inshallah, we will be a united community, and we need to be one, because the enemy is waiting for those cracks in our community, in our family, in our relationships, and that's when we strike. But we are strong in numbers. When we are different people, and everyone is different and giving us issues, but when we're together, we can become a fist. Otherwise, we will become divided, and we will be the ones who lose out, and we will be the ones who will be unhappy because of our su'adhan, always assuming the worst of others. Let's be positive. Let's always think of the glass half full, not half empty. Let's always think the best of others, about the world, about our family, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, this will make the world a better place for all of us. I'll see you next week on Friday, right here on this channel on Hidayat TV at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Toronto time. With that, I ask your leave, and I'll see you very soon, inshallah. Take care of yourselves, love each other, and inshallah practice husnul dhan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.